Hey folks, this is Moni Castaneda. I am founder of Feng Shui for Us, creator of the 9 Steps to Feng Shui system. I help my students and my clients turn their current homes into dream homes so they can realize their full potential and live their dream lives. The result is a life they love in a home they are proud to show. We're talking about Feng Shui ghost stories. This is part 1, and in this video I'm going to share with you my very first encounter with a ghost. Now, until this happened, I was 100% sure that ghosts were not real. Now, that's not that I don't believe that there's an afterlife, or that I didn't believe at the time that there's an afterlife. I just didn't think that ghosts, as entities that roam the world, were a thing. And the funny thing is that this was probably, almost 20 years ago when I first started. One of my first Feng Shui clients. And this was just after that movie with Bruce Willis had come out. And the movie was called The Sixth Sense. And it was about a little boy that could see ghosts, that could see dead people that had things pending in life, or that did not realize that they were dead. And I remember that in the movie, they had a description of how this could happen or what people felt. For example, they said that some people feel like there's a cold draft, like really cold air, and also that the hair in the back of their neck would stand up, and other things that said, were supposed to be in the movie, The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, were supposed to be signs that you have encountered the ghost. And I had watched the movie and I had liked the movie, but I didn't think anything of it other than that. And so this lady, she asked me to help her with the feng shui of her home. She had just bought a beautiful home, an oceanfront home in Mississippi. And she wanted me to take a look at it and give her my opinion. That's all she said, right? But this woman, she was a very independent person. And she was someone who never asked for help of anybody. So I felt really flattered that she was asking for my help or even my opinion, right? And so I said, sure. She said, well, let's go in my car. So we got in her car and we went to see the property. She hadn't moved in yet. And it was a very old house. And it was over 100 years old. And so when we got there, we parked in the driveway, and I saw that they had taken the skirting out of the crawl space in the home. And I could see the darkness in the crawl space, and it was really, really dark because crawl spaces are dark. But there was this one spot in the crawl space that was unusually dark, and I remember noticing that even before I got out of the car. So we go in, right? So she shows me this is the living room, this is the kitchen, and different things. And so then the home was designed where there was like a hub, it was like a square hallway that connected the bedrooms with the kitchen and the living room. So as you came in, you had the living room to the right, the kitchen right behind it. Then there was this hub, and then you had 2 bedrooms on the other side of it. And so I remember we were walking, and we're standing in that hub, and all of a sudden I feel, like an air conditioning vent is throwing really cold air on me. And so I look around, I tell her, are you cold? I think the air conditioning is a little bit too high. And she says, there's no air conditioning here. The home didn't have central heating and air. It just had like a couple of window air conditioning somewhere, and they were off. But I was sure, I was completely sure, because I was feeling this cold air, coming on me. And so I think this is not possible. So I look up and I look around, and sure enough, there's no vents. And I actually was standing in the same place. So I step off to one side, and this cold air disappears. And then I step back to where I was standing before, and then the blowing of this icy cold air. And so I practice, right? I step forward and back and to the sides, and only in this circle, about 18 inches in diameter, I could feel this super, super cold air. And in the movie The Sixth Sense, they have said some people can feel it, some people cannot. So I asked my client, would you stand here? Do you feel that? And she said, no. And I'm like, there's cold air, you know, it feels like if there was a vent right in the ceiling and it's coming down. Don't you feel it? She said, no. She felt absolutely nothing. And so then I go back into the spot to see if I could feel it. And yes, sure enough, you know, this cold air. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just remembering it. And then the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And I remember the movie and I thought, this is a ghost. I don't believe in ghosts, but I have found one. And so I told her, you know, she was very open to all these kinds of things. So I told her, you know, I think there may be a presence, something, you know, do you know the history of this home? Who owned this home before? And so she was able, she actually was a historic home. There was a lot of history about it. There were books written about it. There were a lot of articles. There had been many interviews with the people who lived there before. And so the last person who lived there was a single woman who had died of old age. And before that, she had been taking care of her aging father. And then the father had passed on, you know, about 30 years before the daughter. And so my assumption was it must be the daughter. And so I told my friend, you know, this is what I'm finding. I think there's a ghost in your home, but I honestly don't know how to deal with it. And she said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. So she did a little bit more research, and then she called me and told me that she had figured out that the presence, the ghost in her home was not the woman who had died there last. It was her father. And one of the things they had said in the movie The Sixth Sense is that ghosts, they don't feel the passing of time. And so he was very angry because everybody had left him, abandoned him, and he was angry at the daughter because the daughter had left and abandoned him. And so this client of mine, she was very young, you know, very strong, and very not fearful. And so she did a little ceremony that had to do with what had been his business. He had been in business for many, many years. So she did a little ceremony that was related to his business, and she told him, I have no problem with you being here. You can just stay here and live with me, or you can go on, you know, go to your next step in your evolution as your spiritual being. And she told him that you've been dead for over 30 years. And then the presence went away. And so that was my first encounter with a ghost. It was one of my first Feng Shui consultations back in the day when I was living in the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And so the interesting thing to me was, while I was there, even though I was remembering the movie The Sixth Sense, and I was feeling the cold air, and I was feeling the hair in the back of my neck rising, the interesting thing is I was not afraid at all. It was only when I got home that I got the jitters, you know, and that has been a history with me. When I'm doing consultations, it doesn't matter what I find, you know, it doesn't matter what energies, what presences, it doesn't matter. I'm not afraid. And except for that first time when I didn't know what to do, ever since then, I know what to do and I can handle it, and I just don't get scared. But in the later years, I partnered with a healer who's a fantastic vibrational healer. His name is Bill Austin, and he lives in Florida, and he's a very dear friend of mine. And we partnered to create a tool that will help people clear their homes. And the tool is called Angelic Feng Shui Training, and it uses angelic frequencies to help you clear your home from everything and anything that shouldn't be there. And this includes presences, ghosts, entities, anything that shouldn't be there. So it's it's a healing modality, so you can get attuned for this healing modality. That's the one thing that you can do. But you can also just get the clearing recordings, and my students and clients report amazing results just from using the clearing recordings. And we also have some sessions that Bill Austin has recorded where he uses Angelic Feng Shui to do a clearing, and it's amazing because he does this clearing, he puts it in a recording, and it works for every single person that listens to the recording in the future. I don't know how he does it, you know, he's the expert in these things, but it works. And so I'm going to be putting the links under this video so that you can learn more about the different resources we have related to Angelic Feng Shui to help you deal with any of these issues you may be experiencing at home, whether it be an entity, a ghost, any kind of presence that shouldn't be there, or simply stagnation or old energy that has impregnated your home. Thank you for watching. Good.